I would always say, I'm not just in the mood of just gathering people for program's sake. I don't have time. I can be doing other things. But if I'm gathering people, I'm gathering you because um, we want that change in you, and it's up to you. Ours is to bring the information to you, and yours is to take what you're learning and do something with it. So without going further, I'd just like to hand over to the speaker. Thank you very much, ma. I truly appreciate it. I know every time I say thank you, but I truly appreciate it because I know it's a sacrifice for you to be here. I truly, truly appreciate it. Please go ahead, ma.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you. I am really honored to be here. As you said, yes, I've just finished 2 events already today. But it blesses my heart. And even as you were talking, I knew that there was a reason for me to be here, and I'm glad to be here. My work, I'll just say, my name is Fina Chichi. You've given me an introduction. Oh, as well as being a youth coach and a family consultant, more importantly, I'm someone who believes deeply in healing. I've had to go through my own healing journey as well. So the version of me that you see today is the healed version who is still in progress, because healing never stops. Healing continues. So you will find out as we go through today's session. One of the main things I really want to bring home to us is that trauma is not a life sentence. It's not the end of your story. It's not a blaming game. It's about being now self-aware about it and doing what we need to do about it. Also, what I also want to say is that sometimes when we hear of these buzzwords, trauma, childhood, inner child, all these words, sometimes our minds can tell us, don't listen to all that new age stuff. But this is not new age stuff, because you're going to see that from some signs that I'm going to share with you about, you're going to see what this trauma thing is all about. Trauma doesn't really mean that one massive big thing happens to you. It could even be a small thing. It could be a death in the family. My dad died when I was 5 years old. And I remember that day as if it was yesterday. And I'm no longer 5. But you can imagine the trauma that I had from the death, because his death was so sudden. He had taken my mom to work. Back then, they lived here in the UK. He had taken my mom to work. My mom was a nurse, and she went on night duty. So he dropped her, and he was supposed to come and pick her up. But she told him, she said, oh, no, don't worry. Don't come pick me up. I'll come back with my friend. And while she was there, you just imagine A&E or the ER. An ambulance comes in, a team of hospital staff have gone out. She's part of that team. They've gone out with a stretcher to go get the person in the ambulance. They open the ambulance door. Who does she see? Her husband. That was how my dad passed away. No signs, no nothing. And then as African parents, they don't really then explain to us what has happened. They just tell us, your dad has died. A 5-year-old doesn't understand what death is. What do you mean my dad is dead? No one explained that. And so life continued. But for the 5-year-olds kept asking, why did my dad leave me? Because nobody else explained what death was, the 5-year-old made up the story that her father rejected her. And that story lived with her and guided a lot of her decisions. Low self-esteem, not enough, comparing myself to other people that had fathers. So many things happened in my life. People pleasing, because I didn't want somebody else to reject me. It even came, even in adulthood, it continued. I would apply for stuff or maybe not apply for stuff because I'm scared of the rejection. It was through my healing journey, I then saw the patterns of what I'd been doing over the years and started to do something about it. So your story may not be massive. Your story may be small, but what it is about trauma is that it's how it affected you. You see, the way my dad's death affected me, it didn't affect my younger sisters that way. They were much younger. It didn't affect them the way it affected me. So trauma affects people in their own very different ways. But I've come to tell you, you're not broken, you're not behind, you are just becoming. And you being here today shows me that you are intentional about this journey. Everyone has gone through one trauma or the other. Everyone has gone through it. It could be a death in the family. It could be an illness. It could be anything. It could be abuse. It could be anything. But I want you to see this space as a safe space, a space for you to be open and hear. Your mind may conflict with a lot of things. What is she saying? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, no, no. Just allow your mind to flow with this journey. Tell me, is it possible for me to share some slides? Can you give me permission to share some slides?
Yes, it is. I think you can share.
I can share? Yeah, okay. I'll give that a go. Yes, I can. Yes, perfect. Okay, and let me okay, just give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides. Can you see the slides? Yes, you can. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about dealing with childhood. And you know, something that I love about once I came into this session, just knowing that it's a session full of young people. And when I say young people, because you guys are definitely younger than me. And it gladdens my heart that you have decided to take this journey. And I tell you why, because by taking this journey, you're going to prevent a lot of the mistakes my generation made. By taking this journey, you're going to give yourself more of an opportunity to thrive in life. Because I must tell you, childhood trauma, it affects us in our businesses, it affects us in our education, it affects us in life, it affects us in our relationships. So if we don't do much about it and then go into these relationships, go into these businesses, you see things holding you back that you don't even realize is holding you back. So the fact that you are open to be on this journey tells me a lot about you. And I'm very, very proud of you guys. I started my work with young people. And a lot of the teenagers I worked with 20 years ago are all young adults or adults even getting married now. So this is a journey. So for me, and I will come back to you, Tammy, where you said you want to know why I actually said yes. And I think that this is it, because I've come back to my roots, speaking with young people, empowering young people, helping young people to undo the mistakes of our generation. So let's go ahead. Understanding childhood trauma. Until we name it, we cannot heal from it. That is just as simple as I can start. Until we name it, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't heal it. And that is really, really key. We've got to be able to name it. I've said it, and I said it at the beginning, that childhood trauma, it doesn't have to be anything big. It's just it's an experience that as a child or as a young adult or even in secondary school, you felt quite overwhelmed with the ability to cope with it. Any experience. It could even be a punishment in school. You know those punishments that they punished us so badly in school. I schooled in Nigeria. The punishments were traumatic in boarding school. Oh my. I never forget them making us kneel down and walk from our classroom to the dining room. I say kneeling down on the sand, kneeling down and moving. It's like, what were they gaining from that? But that was very traumatic. Very, very traumatic. And a lot of times what trauma does is that it's not just about what happened, it's how it made you feel and shaped how you saw yourself. Can you imagine our parents? You do one little thing, they flog the living day out of you. After flogging the living day out of you, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself like, oh, I've got confidence? No, you don't see yourself like that. And this, when I say this about parents, I'm a parent as well. And so I'm not saying it so that we're not ungrateful to our parents. We're not being disloyal to our parents. Our parents did what they did based on the information they had at the time. To our parents, they were disciplining us. They wanted us to be better. That was their reasoning. But when we know better now, we need to do better. Research, a lot of people sharing in therapy sessions. There's so much data to prove that a lot of the childhood experiences, the disciplinary way that we were disciplined, a lot of the ways that we were treated as children were very traumatic. And so remember what I said at the beginning, this is not a blaming game. It's more of an awareness. Now that we know, what can we do differently about it? That is key. Okay, that is the main thing. So with trauma, a lot of it can be unrecognized because many people are walking around the streets today saying, I don't have any trauma. Oh no, I'm good. I was raised well. I turned out well. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a business entrepreneur. You know, I'm good. But they don't realize that there's some unrecognized trauma that is there. And that's what we want to fight, not the ones that the ones you know you're already dealing with. So let's look at some unrecognized trauma. The first question I want to ask you today, growing up, were emotions welcomed in your home or were they dismissed? So did you feel free to tell your mom or your dad, oh, I'm not feeling too great about how you spoke to me? Let me know in the chat box if you felt free to do that. Let me know in the chat box if your emotions were welcomed. And some people it may be yes. But just let us know in the chat box so that we know the vibe. Not at all. Yes, not at all. No. No. Two expressions, feelings, emotions. No. Nope. So yeah. And it's all of us. Many of us, our emotions were not welcomed. People say, I didn't even feel comfortable at all. Exactly. So if our emotions were not welcome, what did we do with those emotions? Because we would have had times where we were hurt about something and we didn't get to express it. What happened? Any emotions that were not expressed were trapped in you automatically. Any emotions that we didn't express, they are trapped in us because our cells, remember, when we're hurt, when our feelings are hurt, well, our cells remember. That's uncomfortable feeling you had in that time when someone hurt you, when someone said something really harsh to you. You know, sometimes you even feel that your heart, like your heart, you can feel the heartbreak. Literally feel the heartbreak. Your body kept that score. And that's why now in adulthood, as we go, and as I'm going to share a bit later, how we then heal from it, part of the healing is about speaking about it. You got to express it. Because if you don't express it, it's still trapped in you. So expressing your emotions are it's a very, very healthy way. But we've got to learn it because we didn't learn it as children. Because we couldn't express our emotions as children. So it's very important to remember that. We have unknowingly carried trauma from our childhood into our adulthood, unknowingly. If you were brought up by very strict parents, if there was lack of emotional validation, if there was very high and extreme expectations whilst you were growing up, there's some unrecognized trauma there. There is some unrecognized trauma there. Excuse me, I'm just going to drink a bit of water. Now, here are some signs that you may still be affected by childhood trauma. Feeling not enough at all times, all the time, where you're not feeling enough. You're not feeling confident enough to try out things. You're just not feeling enough. You feel that sometimes you feel that people are better than you. It's a feeling you have inside you. Sometimes fear of abandonment. I had fear of abandonment because I didn't understand how my dad died and no one explained what death was to me. Some people will want to overachieve to feel worthy. Some people don't feel worthy, so they overdo things so that it will be as if they're worthy. That's a sign of childhood trauma. People pleasing is a sign of childhood trauma. Avoiding conflicts is also a sign of childhood trauma. I used to avoid conflicts because, again, I was trying to I didn't want people to leave me, so I will avoid conflicts so that we're all on good terms. Difficulty trusting. When you have difficulty in trusting people, that is a sign of childhood trauma. When you're emotionally numb, you don't know how to express your emotions, you don't know how to give emotions, you don't know how to validate other people's emotions, you don't know how to feel what other people are feeling, that's a sign of childhood trauma. Self-sabotage as well is a sign of childhood trauma. So again, if you recognize any of these things, that means that there is or there are some unrecognized trauma that you have to deal with. So again, it's about self-reflecting now. Look through this list. What is something that you can recognize on this list? And even if you don't want to share it in the comment section, that's fine. But if you want to share it, feel free to share it. But it's just that, remember what we said, you've got to name it to be able to heal it. So it's very important for your healing journey that you're able to name it to be able to heal it. And remember, we said here, and Tammy, you agree with me, this is a safe zone for everyone. Awareness is the beginning of any change. We cannot make any changes, and we will carry these unrecognized traumas from generation to generation if we don't do anything about it. And something that I believe in you guys a lot, I believe you're a generation that is going to break cycles. That's what I believe about your generation, that you will break these cycles. I'm already preaching to parents, preaching to teachers. I'm talking a lot to not just my generation, but even the generation next to me, next below me. But yes, they're listening. Yes, they're trying to implement changes. There's a lot of damage that has already been done. So there's a lot of damage control now happening. But you guys have the opportunity to break the cycle and start real afresh. And so that's why this topic is very, very vital. And is a topic that I'm going to continue to speak about, especially to young people, so that by the time you're getting into relationships and into marriage, you have sorted out your trauma. And you're meeting like-minded people who have also sorted out their traumas. Because sometimes what tends to happen is one person has sorted out their trauma, but they've gone and married someone who has not sorted out their trauma. So the whole marriage and the whole relationship is in chaos. Because one is dealing from a healed version and one is still dealing with the trauma, the unrecognized trauma. So very, very important for you to be aware of it, for you to do stuff about it, and then for you to mix and have peers that are doing the same thing. That village that we talk about. Like-minded people. Very, very important. Because you don't want to do all the work and then go and end up with someone who hasn't done the work, who doesn't support the work, who doesn't get the work. It's chaos. It's chaos. Real chaos. I'm just going to go to the chat box to see. You recognize 3 things on the list. Okay, awesome. Feeling not enough. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing. I've said this part already. We've unrecognized. Okay, here are some examples. I just want you again, as we go through these things, think about your own journey. Think about your own childhood as we go through these, yeah? Harsh discipline, corporal punishments, emotional neglect, high expectations, and pressure to succeed. You know, there's encouragement to proceed, to succeed, but there's pressure. That kind of pressure, those threats that if you don't get this, you will die. If you don't get this, you see who is going to, you will see, you will come back to this house. Threats. Parentification, being forced to grow up, being forced to look after all your children, all your siblings. This affects a lot of firstborns. These are examples because you're a firstborn, yet you're expected to look after your siblings. That's not normal. I know it's very common in our culture, but it's not normal. because we're not giving that firstborn the opportunity to be a child. Yes, they can have responsibilities, but how can they be responsible? How can a 5-year-old be responsible for a 1-year-old? The 5-year-old has not even finished growing, and the 5-year-old is looking after the 1-year-old. And it's okay to help, but not being responsible for the 1-year-old. When you grew up with limited affection and praise, a child, every child, irrespective of the country that child lives in, every child desires affection and praise. And so if you grew up with limited affection and praise, it's going to affect you. Also, the generational impact of colonial rule, we can't move past that. That is part of trauma that many people are going through today. Religious guilt, fear-based upbringing, gender-based conditioning, all these things affect all of us as children. But we don't realize it, and that's why it's unrecognized. And we didn't have the language to speak it. No, we didn't even know what it was. It's now with all the data and stuff that we're beginning to recognize, oh my God, that was trauma. Oh, whoa, okay. No wonder I do this. No wonder I do that. This is now that a lot of these things are coming to light. Unrecognized trauma in words. If you knew you heard these words, there's trauma that was attached to it. If you heard parents say you are a disgrace to this family, that means it created definitely there's kind of a deep shame and feeling of unworthiness it created. If you heard things like, can't you see your mates? Look at him, he's doing better than you. That definitely breeds insecurity to any child. That breeds resentment to any child. And that causes low self-esteem because your parents had compared you, your teachers had compared you. You didn't feel good in that moment when they compared you. Nobody feels good when they compare them. Or you hear words like, you will never amount to anything. At this rate, you useless person, you stupid person. Those words, they damage confidence. And they plant seeds of failure. How can a parent or a teacher tell a child, you will never amount to anything? Does that even make sense? Instead of the adults to be encouraging to the child, the adult is damaging the child's confidence and planting seeds of failure. So you see adults today walking around, they're supposed to write a book, they're postponing writing the book in case it does not work. They're seeking perfection, but they don't know that it's all behind it all is unrecognized trauma. Or you hear some parents have said to their children, I suffered for you and this is how you repay me. The child ends up feeling like a burden just because the child maybe spilled water on the floor. Or the child forgot to do something. The words that comes out sometimes from parents' mouths, from teachers' mouths, from aunties and uncles' mouths. Very disheartening. And this is not to do with Western world, whatever world, no. This is a human thing. If someone insults you, if someone shouts at you, if someone curses you, someone that you trust, irrespective of the country or the village you live in, it will affect you because you're a human being. You're a human being. That's just the basics of it. It's not about where you live. You're a human being. So many other words. You are stubborn, or when your parents are comparing you to the other parent, you are stubborn as your father or you're stubborn as your mother. Again, it just reinforces negative generational patterns. Because we have the blood of our father, we have the blood of our mother. So if you're cursing us and saying we look like our father or we look like our mother, you're also cursing our father or you're cursing the mother. And these are the things that I share with parents, that if they say these kind of things, they need to stop it. Because these things go on to affect the children. And guys, if these are words that you've heard before in the past, it's time for you to, then we'll go through the healing process. It's time for you to write these things down so that you can use another word to replace it, because your inner child is still hearing things like you are as stubborn as your father. Your inner child is still hearing things like I will curse you or you will suffer in life. Your inner child has still heard that. So as the adult now that you are responsible for healing that inner child. You are responsible for talking to that inner child. Through my healing process, I spoke to my 5-year-old. I've spoken to my 5-year-old to explain to my 5-year-old what death is about, to explain to my 5-year-old that yes, people die, and this is what happens when people die. You might think, okay, oh, what's that? What does that? What would that do? How can you be speaking to your 5-year-old? I'm an adult now. My adult brain understands what death means. My adult brain tells me that my father didn't reject me. But that's my adult brain. I know that as an adult. But that 5-year-old did not know that. So we need to talk to that 5-year-old. It's called inner child healing. You've got to talk to that 8-year-old that was abused. You've got to talk to that 6-year-old that was cursed. You've got to talk to that 10-year-old that was flogged mercilessly. Because if you don't, that inner child is still in there. That pain, that hurt that inner child felt in those years is still there. And it's coming out in different ways, but we don't realize that it's connected to the inner child's trauma. We end up classifying it as, this is who I am. Oh, this is who I am. I'm a perfectionist. Oh, that's just me. I like to do things I'm a perfectionist. I need to get things all right. It's not true. You're hiding from something that happened in the past. Don't make the mistake of using those issues as your identity. Oh, I'm very stubborn. Oh, I'm very hot-tempered. Not true. It's a cover-up. It's a coping mechanism. So be mindful of what you're claiming as your identity. Look into it, because a lot of us, because we had this childhood trauma, as children will always adapt to things. Children will learn how to cope no matter what. Children get on with it. But does that coping with it mean that is right? No. But that's survival. You've got to survive. You've got to get on with life. Here are some signs that there's some unrecognized trauma. When you're reacting strongly to minor issues. Have you guys met people who one small thing will happen, the reaction will be like, whoa, you would think, what happened? What happened? Let me know in the chat box. Have you met people who react strongly to minor issues? Let me know in the chat box. Have you met people? Because I've met some people. Hey, one small thing, they will scream, exaggerate from a small issue. They're dealing with unrecognized trauma or difficulty in showing affection. Difficulty in showing affection. Yes, you have. You've met some people. Yes. Somebody being very over-controlling, perfectionist, as I mentioned. Struggles with emotional regulation every time, as soon as one thing happens. Hot-temperedness. Then they'll say, oh, I'm just a hot-tempered person. It's not true. You struggle with emotional regulation, and that is a sign of unrecognized trauma. Or when you see people who dismiss or minimize children's feelings, they're dealing with unrecognized trauma because when they were young, their own feelings were dismissed. So again, on this slide, look through these things and see, is there anything there that you can relate to? And if there is, again, note that down. Because this is part of the healing journey. Note it down. So I'm just going to pause for a minute to ask you a question. What childhood experience still hurts when you think about it? Let's know in the chat box. What childhood experience still hurts when you think about it? Remember what this process, this session that we're having is because we need to name it. We need to call it out to be able to heal from it. If we don't call it out, we cannot heal from it. Is there any childhood experience that still hurts when you think about it? And I'm going to go to the chat box to see. Okay, I haven't had any answers yet. Okay, I'll come back to that. So I think I have another question as well. And then what do you wish you had received as a child? What do you wish you had received as a child? For me, I wish that I had gotten some explanation. I wish that someone would have called me. I know my mom was in big shock at that point. I wish an uncle or auntie or someone that was around my mom had called me on the side to say, your dad loves you. And that happens, and explain to me in a way that a child can understand. That would have saved me a lot of trauma when I was growing up. What do you wish you had received as a child? Oh, in the presence of your mom. And did your mom do anything about it? I can already feel. And how old were you at this point? How old were you? Yeah. Even I can just even reading it. She did nothing. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So note that down. Yeah, note that down. Note that down. Yeah. Note that down. She did nothing. And maybe she just thought it was part of discipline. But again, and as I said, it's not, we're not blaming our parents, but that's a childhood. That 13-year-old needed someone to stand up. Yeah, stand up for them. Yeah. Yeah. That 13-year-old needed someone to stand up for them. Lana says, having my good performances in school not seen as good enough by a particular parent because I didn't score 100%. Yeah. 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 And Falashele says, I wish I was loved by my mom. I hear you. And do you want to put an age to that? So when did you start to believe that you were not loved by your mom? At what age were you when you started to believe that you were not loved by your mom? Put an age to your first experience of this, when you thought about it, when it started. Put an age to it, because when you're then doing the inner child healing, is that inner child you're speaking to, that age of that child that you are speaking to. Hmm. I'm just I'm taking it in, because I'm feeling for the inner children that are coming out here. That's exactly what I'm seeing in this, being sexually abused by my cousins and uncles. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I wish I wasn't made to be a parent from age 11. I wish I had the chance to be a child when I was actually a child. Yes. I hear you, Faye. I see you. I wish I had a present dad. I wish this particular parent saw that I could do better, and encourage me to achieve higher. All I have ever done is wanting 100% and disregarding every other effort. And every negative feedback I receive reminds me that I'm not and never will be good enough. And I pray that today that will change. Hmm. I wish I wasn't loaded with so much expectations and pressure to create a legacy and path for my siblings, who clearly are not even going through the same path I was made to go. It was created to. So Lashari, you said by 11. Okay. Chino says, I wish I was validated. Chinoni, I wish I was validated and encouraged. I wish I was given words of affirmation. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. This took a lot of courage. And so I don't take this for granted at all. Thank you for sharing it. Ray says absence of motherly guidance as a growing kid. I make some mistakes and nobody warned me till dates. And it makes me feel that I'm a bad person. I often have self-condemnation. I even ask myself, what's the point of denying me of my childhood and making me create those parts? Yeah. Yeah. You know the beautiful thing, and I empathize with all of you. I mean, there's a lot that you're holding on to. There's a lot that you're holding on to. And this session is the beginning of the healing journey for you, because you deserve the healed version. You deserve to be able to thrive in life, free from those thoughts and those traumas and those feelings. And that's what this journey is about. You're not alone in this journey. And that's something that I want you to know for sure. We're going to go through a process, and I'm going to show you how you can heal from this. But it's a journey. It's not an automatic thing. It doesn't mean that once you do it today, then everything has disappeared. But it's something that you need to do consistently. Bless you. I hear you.
Just to state, we stopped recording.
I noticed that. Yes, that's good. That's good. Yes, that's good. That's good. That's good. I'm sorry for all the traumas that you all had to go through, or we all gone through. I am so sorry. And I speak to the inner child, your inner child, that had to go through all this and not get supported. I think in the midst of this, I want us to go through a guided reflection. So what I'm going to do, I'm not sure, yeah, I don't think your cameras are on, which is okay. What I want you to do is just close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you these questions. And now that you've noted down a lot of those traumatic experiences, we want to start like a healing journey. And I'll just ask some reflective questions. I don't know if you can have, Tammy, I don't know if you can arrange for the background music, like if you can arrange for something to be playing in the background while we ask these questions.
Lucy, can we have like something soft?
Something soft, please. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I'm just aware of what has just happened. And so that's why I'm staying kind of in the moment. This is a reflective moment. And that's why I'm not jumping into teaching some more. I want us to use this moment in reflecting. You will see that throughout your healing journey, the practice of reflection is so vital. It's so vital because we live in an economy and in a stage, in a phase in life where we're always doing. We don't have the chance to be. We don't have that chance of being. We're just doing things. Okay, it's nighttime. Okay, morning, afternoon, evening, work, this. We never get the time to then sit by ourselves and reflect and talk to ourselves and meditate. And so it's so vital. So even if, as we close our eyes, I'm going to ask you a few questions that are on this slide. And it's just for you to note the questions and answer them in your minds. It's not about, you don't need to write anything in the chat box.
Yeah, I hear that if you're going to play the music, you're going to have to stop sharing.
Okay, let me stop sharing then. I can do that. Okay. Yes. The first question that I want to ask everyone as we stay in this reflective mode. If you reduce the volume a little bit, please, as well. What do you remember most about your childhood self? Just reflect on that question. What do you remember most about your childhood self? What were you often told about yourself? What were you often told about yourself? What did you need that you didn't receive? Were you often scared, lonely, confused, but you had to pretend that everything was fine? What would you say today to the child you were? Can you imagine embracing that child? Can you imagine letting that child know that they were seen and heard and safe? I want in the chat box for you to say, what would you say today to the child you were? That's the only question I want answers in the chat box, because that's a declaration in your healing process. What would you say today to the child you were? Let's know in the chat box. What would you say today to the child you were? That child that you wrote about in the chat box. What would you say today to that child? With the extra knowledge that you've received, with what you know now in adulthood, what will you tell that child? Okay. Thank you for the song, the music. Thank you. I don't see anything on the chat box yet. I will just wait a few minutes. What would you tell that child? Okay. I see you. What would you tell that child? Thank you, Iheanacho, for that. Thank you. What will you tell that child? I will go on in terms of sharing. Okay, it's starting to come through. Okay, because I wanted to acknowledge what you would say first before I go ahead. Yeah, there's no perfection. Forget the past and everyone in it. There's no perfection in the world. You're doing great. Just keep at it and never relent. Okay. You are loved. You should have opened up rather than pretend everything was fine. I will stop at you are loved because now you're saying it's almost like you're correcting your inner child. You should have opened up. But at that point, they couldn't. She couldn't open up, or your inner child couldn't open up. So if you rewrite that one, just tell your inner child that they are loved. When you now say you should have opened up, it's almost like you're telling your inner child off. Do you see what I mean? Because your inner child didn't have the ability to open up. Is now, as you're an adult, we can reflect back to say, as an adult now, you would have thought, oh, I would have opened up. But the child at that point didn't have the tools. Yeah. So if you rewrite it in the next bit, that would be good. Okay. And then paper says, don't rush into adulthood. Enjoy your childhood and the experiences that comes with it. Go through that journey. Okay. Okay. I think that was it. Yeah. So, Elaine, I think that's, yeah. If you rewrite yours, please, yeah, just leave it as you are loved. Yeah. I want her, I want your inner child not to then feel, oh, I should have done something. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Ray says, I will tell the child I was to stop blaming yourself. You acted as a child that you were. And for your mother, she acted according to the knowledge and exposure at that point. Yes, your mistakes does not define you. The future is a great one for you. Awesome. 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 How did that make you feel? Let me know in the chat box. How did that make you feel writing that to your inner child? How did that make you feel? Kinea says, you are beautiful, you are loved, you are good at what you do. Awesome. Awesome. Let me know in the chat box, how did that make you feel as you wrote that down? How did that make you feel? I know that when I did this exercise and I wrote to my own inner child, it made me feel free. I felt this freedom inside me. I felt this relief inside me. It's almost like, oh, see, somebody just said relieved as well. Yeah, exactly. That was how I felt. I felt like, phew, like almost as if something was in me and it's like, oh, I really felt very relieved. Awesome. 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 Okay, I'll go ahead and keep sharing. I felt relieved and I felt grace was given to me. Awesome. 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 And you're going to find yourself feeling a lot better with this process and doing the other little things I'm going to share now on some things, relieved as well. Awesome. 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 Let me go back to sharing my slides. We're almost done. And yes, you can still keep typing in the chat box. I'll always still go to the chat box and check it. So how do we deal with trauma and start healing? We name the pain. Honor your story without shame. This is what we just started doing now in the chat box. Honor your story without shame. And that's why with that other example, I got you to take off that other bit where you said you should have, because we don't want any shame attached to it. Talk it out. That's what you've started doing by here. It could be through community, safe community, through therapy, through mentorship. Talk it out. And then you start to do the inner child work. Talk to the child within you. Comfort them. That's exactly what we started doing just now. And then reparenting yourself. Reparenting means giving yourself what you didn't get. So you talk to yourself, you encourage yourself, you speak love to yourself. Sometimes even give yourself big hugs. Tell yourself, well done. Look in the mirror. Tell yourself, well done, you're going places. That's reparenting. The things that our parents couldn't do at the time because they didn't have the emotional awareness. Now that you have some emotional awareness, you start to do it. Start to reparent yourself. Forgiveness is another huge key in the healing journey. And now, forgiveness doesn't mean you're excusing what happened. It doesn't mean that you're condoning what happened, but you're freeing yourself from the offense. You're freeing yourself from the burden of what happened. Forgiveness is for you. It's not for that person. So forgiveness is key. And then spiritual healing. If you're someone of faith, then it's very, very important for you to invite God into those memories. For you to invite him to comfort you. Comfort those for you in those memories. Very important if you're someone of faith. And then start boundaries. You've got to now start setting boundaries for yourself. Anybody that you have around you, whether it's a work colleague at work or a friend or a relative, and they're still, if you have anybody around you who is being insultive, who is just causing a lot of chaos around you, say no. Avoid them if you can. Start to protect your heart. Start to protect your peace. Because if not, trauma, the same way that trauma is contagious, healing too is contagious. You've got to take ownership of your healing journey. It's not about anybody else, it's about you. Because it's so important that you heal before you go into relationships. Or if you're now in relationships, you heal and you speak to your partner about it so that both of you can be on this healing journey. It's very difficult when it's only one person getting healing and the other person is still staying in the chaos. It's very difficult. So protect your boundaries. Very important. And then the way that you can prevent, we've got to think about preventing this generational trauma, is when you heal, when you start this healing journey, it's not just about changing your life. You're changing legacies. Because by the time you have children, you're then passing the healed version to your children. Your children are not having to inherit these trauma and the trauma and the effects. Healing breaks the cycle. And what healing does as well, healing helps you to love other people better. So you're a better person in your relationships. You're a better parent. You're a better leader. You're a better manager. When you start your healing. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to raise healthy children. You don't have to be perfect to thrive in your workplace. You just have to be aware. You have to be present. And you have to be on the healing journey. Very important. And I've said here how to maintain your healing journey. Healing isn't a one-time decision. What you've just done now is a start. It's a journey, and it's okay to go slowly. But you've got to remember to stay connected. Remind yourself that you are worthy. Journal stuff down, write stuff, pray, therapy. Find people in a community such as this that you guys can grow and grow together. And you must learn to rest, not just be performers, not just do. You must learn to rest, because in your resting, you find strengths. In your resting, you can find time to encourage yourself. In your resting, you get inspired. So it's very important that you prioritize resting. Okay? And then words of encouragement I'm just going to kind of wrap up with is that to remind you that you are not your trauma. You are not broken. You are healing. You are allowed to outgrow the survival version of you. You are allowed to outgrow that version because you survived all these years. Now it's time to thrive. You didn't deserve the pain, but you definitely deserve the healing. You are enough, even on your worst days. Remember that you are enough. And let me leave you with this as well. You didn't choose your childhood, but you can choose your healing. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're healing day by day. And the final thing I want to share with you here today is that you are loved, you are needed, and you are capable of raising a new generation from a place of wholeness. It starts with you. And this is the beginning of your journey. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. One of the reasons why I like sessions like this is because, I attend different sessions and a lot of career sessions. Everybody cannot be talking about career, and the people are hiding behind things. And for me, I think one of the things I want to be able to really do is to help people live wholesome lives. Because I always tell people I hear people say things like when you're going through things, one of the ways I distract myself is I walk. But I always say after working, you're still going to go back home and be by yourself, and that thing will still come back. You just need to be able to face it. I think it was sometime, I can't remember the year, that I decided and I said to myself, I'm going to reach to the deepest part of my heart, things that I'm hiding. I'm going to, bring them out and talk about them, because we all have things that we're going through. When I was going through the comment section, I was, if not because my video was on, I would have started crying, and I don't like to cry because it just shows you that people are just going through a lot, especially young people. I've personally, just my experience of having to work with, because I used to volunteer for a mental health organization, and I had to take like some certifications, and I work with a lot of young people. I know a lot of people who have been raped, people who have been harassed, and just carrying that burden, young people not being allowed to be young, and again, just like you said, I've also come to a point where I sort of understood that our parents did what they did because that's what they knew, and it's not to blame them, but it's really to say I need to take charge of my own healing, and that's really why we're doing this, and I'm really glad that people were able to speak, and I'm hoping that this will start your journey of healing, right? And if you know that you even want more conversations, Miss Fina is available. Like, you can just let me know, and we will pay for it. but I think that it's important to invest in yourself, to invest in your becoming wholesome. There's no point living on this earth and you're not wholesome, you're not able to, because the thing is, if you don't heal, you will pass it on to, and I tell people, like, you might say that nothing wrong, but you will see yourself also saying this exact words to your children. You won't know when you be like, hey, what did I just say to my child? Well, that's because it's there. It's not your fault, but it's there. So if you don't deal with it, and I'm sure we could all relate to the things that were said today, it's not your fault. It's what you've been exposed to, but then it gets to a point where it is your responsibility to now say, I need to be better. I need to do better. I need to become a better person. And I'm really proud that everybody was here. Right? You could be doing something else, but you chose to be here. So thank you very much, man. I truly appreciate it.
You're welcome. I just want to acknowledge the other comments that came while I was then sharing the slides. Favor said I was smiling when I was writing it, and I felt relieved and unpressured. I felt like giving me a hug. And then Umar says the past experiences were what they are. It's time to correct them now that I'm becoming aware of them, and I will help others not to trade on paths. Awesome. Awesome.
Now, if you have any questions,
yes.
If you have any questions, you want to talk, please feel free. You can raise up your hand. You can put in the chat section. And definitely your questions will be taken. If you just even want to say something, feel free. That's why we stopped the recording, just so that we truly know that this is a vulnerable place. Once we stop this now, it's gone. I prefer to do that than what am I recording it for, really, right? So if you have a question, you want to say something, you can raise up your hand. We'll allow you to unmute. Or if you don't want to talk, you can just write whatever it is that you feel in the comment section. But I also feel like we should all just say thank you to Ms. Fina. Right? If you feel like you have gotten something today, please, before we start questions or anything, just put in the chat section. Tell me exactly how you feel about her and what she has done for you today. Right? Just tell me. I want to see it. I want to hear, how exactly she has made you feel today. Just let me see that, appreciation in the comment section. Like, thank you. I mean, if you feel I can see questions, but before questions, I want to be able to see that appreciation. Let's say thank you. Tell me how she has made you feel today, how the session has made you feel. Right. So before I will go into taking any questions, I want to be able to see that. Right. How has this session made you feel? And just telling her thank you. It's important to appreciate people. Right. So I'm still waiting. I've seen one. I'm still waiting for more. Let's say thank you. Then we'll move to the to the questions that you have. Thank you, Favor. I'm still waiting. I would wait for as long as we want before I take the. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ma, for making me know what I've been battling with. I've gotten so much relief, and thank you very much, Ma. I want you to be able to see what people are saying. I've been able to speak about something I've blocked out for years now, and I can say I feel relieved. Thank you so much. I feel so relieved, and this was eye-opening. Okay. Okay. I'm very glad about that, and I'm saying that because I want you to know that you've had a lot of effect today. Like the 1 hour we spent here, is a lot, and I'm really grateful to you. Thank you. So somebody said, how do you differentiate between a child's attitude and a developed mechanism? You are muted.
Sorry, I saw the question and I wanted to understand what did the person mean by developed mechanism? Is it like a coping mechanism? And if you can explain that more, yeah, I can see
explain that more.
The difference between a child's attitude, yes, and a developed mechanism. It'd be nice to know the age of the child and what is the attitude we're talking about. So that will give me more of a context into them to give a better answer.
Okay.
So I'll wait for that to come.
If we have any more questions, you can please write it or raise up your hand if you feel comfortable to want to express yourself. That's good. Like I would always say, I like when people are bold, so you can always just raise up your hand and say, okay, yeah, I want to ask a question. Or if you don't have any question, no pressures, it's fine. I feel like people have gotten what they need. I mean, I see it from the thank yous there.
Yes.
So you might just not even have any question. That's fine. So we'll just wait for the clarification for that question.
Yeah, please.
Right. But please understand, just like Ms. Fida has mentioned, that it's a process. Healing doesn't, the words, the voice will come back again, you know, you would feel that thing again, but you need to now okay, so is there a name for this kind of conditioning where a child carries the burden of parental emotional responsibility? A child suppressing his or her needs, emotions, just to make the parent not feel like they are being too demanding or not understanding the situation of things.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say is a kind of condition. I think it's more of a modeling. So what they've done, what the child is doing here is the child actually what the child is doing two things. Okay, so the child carries the burden of the parent's emotional responsibilities. Okay, a child suppressing his or her needs emotionally just to make the parent not feel like they're being too demanding. Yes, because that's a response. So really, that is a response to a parent who is not, first of all, not meeting the need of the child. So what this child has done, this child knows that they need, let's say they need the parent to listen to them. They have an emotion that they want to share with their parent, but because their parents does not really listen to them, so what this child has learned to then do was to suppress it. So a child can only get rejected a few times. Once the child has gotten rejected once, they've gotten rejected the second time, they won't want to share the third time because they know that rejection is coming. So to protect themselves, they will suppress their emotions. So that is a response. What you're saying there about the child suppressing their needs just to make the parent not feel like they're being too demanding is a coping mechanism from the child. The child has learned that if I express my emotions, my parent is going to feel that I'm too demanding. My parent is going to feel that I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm disturbing them. So I'm better off to not say anything. So that's a coping mechanism for the child. And if the parent now wants that child to open up more to the parent, then the parent now needs to start listening more to the child. Getting the child, how is school? How are you doing? What is disturbing you? What you have to start opening up. Because once the child knows that you're now free, the child is now free to express themselves, the child will go ahead and express themselves. Every child wants to express themselves, but they always test the waters first. They will test parents. And if parents don't open up, if parents dismiss them, then the children will zip up their mouths and will not express their emotions anymore. So Elaine says that, yes, a coping mechanism. I've always been reserved and I don't like to be disrespected. So I keep to myself sometimes. Could that be a developed? Yes, it's a coping mechanism. Yeah, it's a coping mechanism. Yeah, it is. Where did I talk about? So some of the signs of unrecognized trauma is that there's that coping mechanism. We've learned how to, and you say there was somewhere I shared where we have to now be able to move away from our survival self. So this coping mechanism, it helps you in the moment. It helps you at that point. Yeah. So that it was needed at that point. So it's not a bad thing. But now that you're healing, you don't need that reserved version anymore. You now need to speak up with confidence, because that reserved version was because you didn't want to get disrespected because of the disrespect you probably had already received. But now you're healing, you're moving away from that version of yourself. So it's now time for you to then not be as reserved as you used to be. Not be as reserved because of the fear of being rejected or being disrespected. So that is the key. Yes, it is a coping mechanism, and it was a coping mechanism for a certain season of your life when you were trying to survive. But now that you're moving from surviving to thriving, it's time to let go of that coping mechanisms. Yes, there's going to be some times where you need to be reserved. I have those moments. But there's also going to be some times where you need to speak up and speak out. Yeah, so I trust that helps. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. I will share what I will do. I will share my Instagram page. Let me share my Instagram page. And then so you can follow me and then we can.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here because I know that you need to go and rest.
Yes.
So I'm going to stop it here,
Okay.
and just really, really, again and again, thank you very much
You're
for,
welcome.
because I know the sacrifice that you did. I know,
Mm.
I know, and I'm so grateful, and we're
Thank
all
you.
very grateful. Everyone is very grateful.
Thank
Thank you very much. I'm going to release you.
Okay. Thank you so
I
much.
just pray that God blesses you so much, like
Amen.
and then He opens more opportunities for your voice to be heard because it's really needed. Right? And I'm still going to come back. But thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And God bless you all. Thank you for this journey that you've started, and it can only get better from now on. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So everyone, thank you very much for being here today. As I would always say, please make sure that you take what you've learned and do something with it. Your journey for healing has started, and if you want any further assistance, you can always reach out and I'll just refer you to her, right? But it's your responsibility to take what you've learned and do something with it and become a better version of yourself, so that you can not just for your future children, but for yourself first and foremost. And if you want to really make the world a better place, it starts with us. So thank you, and thank you very much. And definitely, if you're on the group, you'd see more of the sessions that would have. We're still going to have a part 2 of this. I think there'll be 4 more speakers to come and speak on this. But we're still going to be having a lot of sessions on skills. So, well, thank you all very much, and have a very nice night. Does